Live from the studios of Long Island's News Network, this is News 12, Long Island.
Oh, we should all have that type of self-control. Has the stalled economy changed the way you use your credit cards? And are you aware of the changes that are about to affect you? 516-393-1800 is the number. litalks@news12.com is our email. Joining me here tonight in the studio is financial planner Henry Montag of Montag Associates. Good to see you again, Henry. Thank you so much.
Hi. Very good being here.
All right. So technically, this is, I think, the third phase now of what was signed into law last year by the president. How have we been going so far with the other two steps that have taken place already? Have they made any differences from what you can tell?
Well, no, only because, as you'll recall, back in February of last year, they went ahead and they just jumped the gun. And they just went from the small fees that they were charging, the lower interest rates they were charging, they jumped all the way up to 29%. They jumped all the way up to $39. So what they did is in January, February, they just, very gradually did what they needed to do. And as far as I'm concerned, the fact that there are two new laws, so to speak, going into effect tonight, they're really meaningless because going from $7 to $39 and then rolling back to $25 is no big thing.
I mean, the credit card industry has made no secret of the fact that they felt this was going to cost them tons and tons of money. What they're saying now is these new regulations are expected to cost the card industry about $11 billion a year in lost revenue for 5 years, according to one credit card consulting firm. So everybody is suspecting that they're going to try to figure out every which way they can to make up for that lost revenue.
They've already done it. The whole point is that they beat the government to the punch. The government extended such a long period of time where they said that they were going to be doing this, and they're going into effect in February, and they're going into effect again in August, that last year the credit card companies did what they needed to do, and now they happily rolled back down. So they're still way ahead of what they were, and they're now going to protect. They're going to protect it up to $25.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, we'll talk about the individual ones so people have an idea, because I'm sure that not everybody has gotten a chance. Because you know what? Check your bills, because the credit card companies are supposed to notify you about the changes they're making to your account. But it's usually about this big with all this little tiny fine print and goes on forever, so a lot of people might not have even bothered to open it up and try to read it and understand it. But also, by the way, if you just want to know and you want to see what you're gauging, what you're paying based on what other people are paying, the national average right now for credit card interest rates is about 14.35%. So that'll give you a good idea as to whether you're on the higher or the lower end. So one of the things that's going to take effect on Sunday, all right, what the Federal Reserve considers to be a reasonable penalty fee, which means that right now your late payment fee could be as high as $39, and you pay the same fee whether you're late with a $20 minimum payment or a $100 minimum payment. Now, under the new rules, your credit card company cannot charge you a fee of more than $25, unless, okay, here's the unless. One of your last 6 payments was late, in which case your fee may be up to $35, or your credit card company can show, I love this one, Henry, that the cost it incurs as a result of late payments justify a higher fee.
The law's on their side.
In one sentence, are you kidding me?
They're now making the print bigger on the letters to you just to let you know what they're doing. But that's about the full extent of the law, is that the information is now clear and transparent. And you now know what before you thought.
So now you know how painful it is.
I don't know which way would have been better. I think I might have preferred the old way.
Well,
but no, seriously, you've got to read everything.
Yeah, you do. You really do have to read it.
And people don't.
And, you know, you have to read it. You have to say something to your credit card company if you're having a problem. And the Federal Reserve on its website over and over and over says, if you find that your credit card company is not listening to these rules, they want to hear from you. I hope that means they'll do something.
But what I found is that the credit card companies have found other ways around the laws, and they're just basically taking advantage of things that they had been doing all along. It's their house. They're making the rules.
They're making the rules, apparently.
The only thing is that now they've got to give you a 45-day notice before they're going to go ahead and slash your
Yeah, and we'll talk about the specifics of that, too. One of the things I did find that I do like, though, that now they're required to tell you that if you only pay the minimum payment, this is how long it's going to take you to pay off the credit card. That that resonated with me.
If you open it and look at it
Yeah.
and read it
Yeah.
and understand it,
Yeah.
that could be very scary. But there's the problem.
Do you find with a lot of your clients when you ask people if they've read their credit card statements and they understand them, you know, as you're trying to help them with their financial plan, that they look at you and say, no?
I've been doing this for 34 years. I've stopped asking because I know the answer. One, I don't want to embarrass them. Two, I know the answer.
You know the answer.
And it's probably 10% of the people that do it. But that also falls in line with the fact that 10% of the people are doing this and 10% are more successful and 10%. But the majority of people aren't looking, aren't reading.
Aren't even looking and reading. And that's hurting us, right?
In every way, in every which way. I mean, there are two types of people. There are those people that wind up saving what they can, and there are those people that wind up spending what they have and hoping that there's something to be left over.
Have you been able to, the people that you help put their financial plan together, have you been able to kind of get them to start being more proactive about their bills and their credit card bills?
All the financial activities making people focus on the big picture. And the big picture is that in the 60s, money might not have been very important. In the 70s, it started becoming a little bit more important. But in the 2000s, it's extremely important. And both young people as well as old people are beginning to become aware of that. And the boomers have really opened the door to let so many people realize that it's okay to talk about money, especially your own money. So yes, as your audience pointed out before, people now are beginning to focus on perhaps spending less or being a little more frugal, right across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people think that a financial planner can help them with retirement and their 401k and their stocks and stuff, but they don't realize they can also help you with your budgeting and your credit cards.
If someone allows someone else to take that, to come into your world to do that, I think it's an extremely important thing because most people, as you know, they live over their means.
Oh, yeah.
And the credit card companies are just there to ease it away.
Well, for a while it was easy to do that. Now, the credit is much harder to get. Welcome back to Long Island Talks here on News 12 Long Island. Tonight we're talking about credit card changes that go in effect this weekend to your account. Joining me here tonight in the studio is financial planner Henry Montag of Montag Associates. Here's what you're saying on our Facebook page. Joe from Levittown was calling in. When does this affect the credit card holder? Starting Sunday or 5 to 7 days after? Joe, it starts Sunday. These credit card regulations go into effect Sunday. So these are the changes that if you get a bill starting next week sometime, these are the changes that you should be seeing in your credit card. Henry, let's talk about a couple more. No inactivity fees anymore. Your credit card company cannot charge you an inactivity fee anymore for not using your card. That's something to look out for. One fee limit. Your credit card company cannot charge you more than one fee for a single event or transaction that violates your cardholder agreement. For example, you can't be charged more than one fee for a single late payment. Those things they were doing before this, definitely.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable if they were doing that. And thank goodness.
You're not using your card. We're going to charge you for not using your card.
and thank goodness. And, you know, again, give credit where credit is due. I give them an awful lot of credit. Give the government an awful lot of credit for enacting some of these laws. They really do protect the consumer. They should have been doing this all along.
Oh, absolutely.
Fortunately, they're starting
because that doesn't make you money.
August 22nd.
Explanation of rate increase. If your credit card company increases your APR, it has to tell you why. If you remember in the past, they didn't tell you.
What a great
now they have to tell you why. Well, okay. And then they have to reevaluate some recent rate increases. Today, your credit card company can increase your APR with no obligation to reevaluate your rate increase. Now, if your credit card company increases your APR, it must reevaluate that rate increase every 6 months. If appropriate, it must reduce your rate within 45 days after completing the evaluation. Now, that to me sounds like the mice guarding the cheese. They're going to do a reevaluation of why they increased your rate and decide, oh, we shouldn't have done that. We're going to lower your rate again?
That's why I'm not very excited about this new third phase of regulations that went into effect. I think the overall package was, you know, somewhat meaningful, but the actual pieces that went into effect today, I'm embarrassed to say that this is what they're now doing, because shouldn't they have been doing this really all along?
They sure feel. I mean, these are things that certainly sound reasonable. Let's look at some of the earlier ones. What about kids in credit now? Because that one, do you think that can be helpful?
That was extremely helpful.
Okay.
And I recall you did a show on that, and there was an awful lot of interest.
Yeah.
And there was an awful lot of controversy. But the bottom line is that it prevented credit card companies from going onto campuses and offering kids free T-shirts, free bags, free sandwiches in exchange for getting in debt at an early age of 18, 19. Now, I don't know that people necessarily get wise at 21, But now the credit card companies have to at least wait until 21,
Right.
unless they get a parent to come back on and to co-sign.
Or the 18 or 19-year-old can prove that they can pay if they have
Which is
right,
wonderful.
right.
I mean, isn't that a great idea?
I
that
think so,
you should prove that you could pay before you take a $1,000 or $2,000 credit line.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
but that was a good idea.
Oh, well, I don't think so. I'll ask Henry if he knows. Harry from Lindenhurst wants to know if this affects collection agencies as well, because he says they're just as bad as the credit card companies. But I don't believe so. No.
No, it's a credit. No, unfortunately, it's not. It's
yeah.
the Credit Card Protection Act, and it's a good idea. And perhaps now the next step might be to protect the consumer from the wrath of the unpaid bill, and actually do some good that way as well. That could be real meaningful reform.
Do you think, as we wrap up here, do you think this is really going to wake people up about the abuses of their credit cards and the dangers of just not using them the right way? Are we paying more attention now?
Absolutely. It's easy to ignore a letter, but President Obama and the administration have put it in our face for the last year. And I think an awful lot of good has come out of that, because we're now observing what we should have been noticing and looking at all along. We're becoming fiscally more responsible. We're becoming fiscally more literate. And I think we can all only benefit from that.
Do you notice with any of your clients, perhaps, that they're maybe even saving more, putting away a little more for retirement?
I find that they're having conversations with their kids more. The older kids sometimes are being forced to come back. So my friends, some of my son's friends are coming back, and they're basically living with mom and dad. And that's opening the conversation. An awful lot more people are looking at having meetings and conversations within their family, both for young ones as well as little ones, to be able to put some wisdom from their years into what the kids today could be looking at.
One last question for you. Do you think kids should be learning how to take care of their finances in high school? Like a class, like a home ec class on taking care of your finances?
We got involved in the middle school of bringing junior achievement into the middle schools. So certainly by the time kids get into high school, they should have an active role. They should all have bank accounts. They
learn
should
how to balance
learn how to exactly.
And learn even how to do some retirement planning. I wish I had done that in high school and college.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your advice and your knowledge and your thoughts on this. I appreciate it. If you'd like some more information on tonight's show, visit our website at news12.com. Click numbers and links. You're watching Long Island Talks here on